He came to my grave yesterday, not with flowers, with a date. I watched him through the app I installed on his phone before the cancer took me. He stood over my headstone, put his hand on the cold marble, and whispered, "I'm finally happy." Most people die and rot. I died and I got revenge. My name is Elena, and if you're listening to this, I need you to understand something. I didn't start out bitter. I started out in love. Mark and I were the picture-perfect couple, married 15 years, a beautiful house with a white fence, 2 kids who actually liked us. We were the couple at the BBQ who made everyone else jealous. Also, I thought, Grandma always said, a snake will shed its skin, but it will always be a snake. I thought she was talking about my 3rd grade teacher who hated me. Turns out she was talking about my husband. It started with the texts, the late meetings, the way he'd smile at his phone and then frown when he saw me looking. You know the look. It's the look that makes your stomach drop, but your brain tells you to ignore it. I ignored it for 2 years. Then I found the receipts. A fancy steakhouse on a Tuesday night when he told me he was working late, a jewelry store, a hotel chain I'd never heard of. I confronted him. And here's the thing about a narcissist: they don't apologize. They make you feel crazy. He held my hands. He looked me dead in the eyes. And he said, "You're imagining things. You've been so stressed lately. Maybe you need to see someone." He was gaslighting me while I was cooking his dinner. But the universe has a sick sense of humor. While I was worrying about another woman, my body was betraying me. I found the lump 2 weeks later. Stage 4, terminal, the doctor said. I had maybe a year. I should have been devastated. I was devastated. But not for the reasons you think. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see what happens when a dying woman decides to stop being the victim and starts being a problem. Because I didn't just want to die. I wanted to make sure he lived in the mess he created. When you find out you're dying, people expect you to write a bucket list: skydiving, seeing the ocean. I wrote a different kind of list. I called it the cleanse. Mark thought I was just being a devoted wife. He thought the chemo was making me tired, making me clingy. He didn't realize I was watching. I was cataloging. I was setting up the chessboard for a game he didn't know he was playing. The first thing I did was hire a private investigator. Not to find out who she was, I already knew her name was Rachel, a yoga instructor, 29 years old, the kind of woman who wears Lululemon to the grocery store. No, I didn't need to know who she was. I needed proof of him asterisk. Grandma always said, when you're in a hole, stop digging. But if you're burying someone, dig deep. So I dug. I had the pie document everything. The lunches, the hotel visits. The moment he told Rachel, my wife is sick, but once she's gone, we can finally be together. I have that on video. He was smiling. He was asterisk smiling asterisk while talking about my expiration date like it was a business acquisition. But I didn't cry. Crying takes energy, and I was saving every ounce of it for the execution. While I was in the hospital, hooked up to machines, he was emptying our joint accounts. I saw the bank notifications pop up on my phone. $20,000 here, $15,000 there. He was moving our life savings asterisk my asterisk life savings into an account I didn't have access to. That was the moment the gloves came off. He thought he was so smart. He thought the widow was just going to fade away quietly, but I had access to everything. His laptop, his office, his phone when he was in the shower, and I started collecting. I copied every email, every shady transaction, every promise he made to Rachel about the beach house they were going to buy with my inheritance. I turned our guest bedroom into a war room. Boards with printed texts, bank statements, Dates, timelines. I had 3 months to live, and I was about to spend every second of it, ruining the last 15 years he thought he'd secured. He walked in on me one day, looking at the wall. He asked me what I was doing. I just smiled. I told him I was scrapbooking for the kids. He bought it. He always underestimated me. That was his first mistake. The cancer started winning faster than I expected. My hands were shaking, my hair was gone, but my mind was sharper than it had ever been. I knew I couldn't do this alone. I needed an executor, someone who loved me enough to hate him. That was my sister, Clara. I sat Clara down in that guest bedroom. I showed her the wall. I showed her the videos. I showed her the bank statements. I watched her face go from confusion to shock to a cold, quiet rage that mirrored my own. I handed her a thumb drive. I told her, when I'm gone, I want you to wait. I want you to let him think he got away with it. Let him move her into the house. Let him post the photos. Let him spend the money. She asked me how long to wait. I said, until the first anniversary of my funeral, then you burn it all down. Grandma always said, revenge is a dish best served cold. But if you want to destroy a man, serve it frozen solid. Clara agreed. She was the only one who knew the truth. The next few weeks were a performance. I played the part of the fading wife. I told Mark forgave him for everything. I said I just wanted him to be happy after I was gone. I cried. I made him believe I was letting go. He actually had the audacity to look relieved. He held my hand tighter. He was saying goodbye to me, but I knew in his head he was saying hello to his new life. The night I died, the night I was close to it, I asked him for his phone. I said I wanted to see a photo of the kids. He handed it to me without a second thought. I had 10 seconds. I opened his location sharing. I turned it on, and I set it to share with Clara's phone. He took the phone back. He kissed my forehead. He told me he loved me. He lied. I passed away 3 days later. At least, that's what the death certificate says. Mark cried at the funeral. He gave a eulogy about how I was his rock. The church was full of people, sobbing. I was watching from the only camera I had left in the world, Clara's phone. I saw him wipe the tears away the second he got into the limousine. I saw him pull out his phone and text Rachel. It's done. I'm free. He thought he had won, but the game was just starting. Mark waited a respectable for weeks before Rachel's car was parked in my driveway, for weeks before her yoga mat was hanging on the porch I painted. Clara was watching. She texted me updates. She texted the phone I left with her. I had set up a scheduled email account before I died, an autoresponder that only Clara knew about. She'd send texts to my old number, and I'd read them from the cloud. It felt like haunting him, but with a spreadsheet. By month 2, Rachel had moved in. She redecorated the kitchen. She took down the photos of me and the kids. Mark didn't stop her. He was too busy trying to liquidate the rest of our assets. Here's what he didn't know. While he was draining the accounts, I had already frozen the business account, the one attached to the company we built together. The company *I*, funded with my family's money. He tried to pay the staff, declined. He tried to pay the mortgage on the beach house, declined. He called the bank, screaming, wondering why a dead woman's signature was blocking every transaction. Because before I died, I signed an affidavit. I had documented his financial infidelity. I had the receipts from the affairs. I had the proof of him moving marital assets with the intent to defraud me, his terminally ill wife. I left the bank a letter, certified mail. It arrived 3 days after my funeral. It said, and I quote, "Do not release funds to my husband without a court order. Any transfer made after The date of this letter is considered theft from my children's inheritance. Grandma always said, money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy the rope to hang the bastards with. Mark was spiraling. He couldn't pay for Rachel's new car. He couldn't afford the renovations she wanted. The mask started to slip. Clara sent me a video of them fighting in the driveway. Rachel screaming, "You said you were rich. You said she was loaded." Mark screaming back, "She was. She hid it. She hid everything." That's when Clara decided it was time. She invited all of Mark's business partners, all of our mutual friends, and most importantly Rachel's parents to a memorial gathering for me at the country club, the one Mark had been banned from after the check started bouncing. Mark showed up, thinking it was a pity party for him. He walked in arm with Rachel, wearing a brand new suit he hadn't paid for. Clara stood up at the podium. She tapped the mic. She looked at Mark, and she said, "Elena asked me to read this letter on the 1-year anniversary of her death. She made me promise to wait until Mark had settled into his new life. So, Mark, this is for you." She pulled out a folded piece of paper. My final words. The room went silent. You could hear the ice cubes melting in the glasses. Clara began to read. "Dear Mark, if you're hearing this, I'm dead. But I'm not stupid. I know you brought Rachel here today. I want you to look at her, and I want you to remember that you're standing in a building you can't afford, with a woman who doesn't love you, holding on to money that isn't yours." Mark went white. Rachel tried to pull him away, but people were already turning. Phones were coming out. Clara kept reading. "To everyone else, I wanted to share a few documents I found before I passed. Exhibit A is a bank transfer Mark made to Rachel's account 2 days after my first chemotherapy session. Exhibit B is a hotel receipt from the night I was in the air. Exhibit C is a video recording of Mark telling his mistress, 'I can't wait for my wife to die so we can start our real life.' Chaos, absolute chaos." Mark lunged for the podium. 2 of his old business partners grabbed him. Rachel was screaming, "I didn't know. I didn't know he was married," which was a lie, and everyone in that room knew it, because Clara had already sent the photos of them together at my daughter's school play. But Clara wasn't done. She pulled out a folder, and finally, the will. Elena updated her will 6 weeks before she passed. "Mark, you were removed as executor. You were removed as beneficiary. The house, the cars, the business, and the remaining funds go into a trust for the children. You get nothing. But wait, there's more." She smiled, a smile I taught her. "You also get a bill." Elena paid off the mortgage on the beach house using her personal account. She then signed the deed over to the kids. "You can't sell it. You can't live in it, but you can pay back the $450,000 you embezzled from the joint accounts, or the state attorney general has agreed to file charges for financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult." Grandma always said, "You can't cheat an honest man, but you can sure as hell destroy a dishonest one." Mark was escorted out of the country club by security. Rachel left in an Uber, crying, her reputation shattered in the town she wanted to conquer. The aftermath was brutal. Mark tried to sue the estate. He lost. He tried to claim I was mentally unstable. The judge asked to see the video of him laughing about my death. The case was dismissed. He lives in a studio apartment now. My kids refuse to see him. His business partners abandoned him. He has nothing. And me, I'm just a ghost with a good lawyer and a better sister. Clara comes to visit my grave every year. She leaves a single red rose. And yesterday, she whispered to the headstone what Mark had said when he came by. "I'm finally happy." Funny, he looked miserable. If you enjoyed watching a narcissist get what he deserved, make sure you subscribe. I've got More stories where this came from. Some of them are still in progress. And remember, be careful who you betray. They might just be taking notes for the afterlife. This has been Eleanor's story. Thanks for listening.